At least for me, Gravity Rush alone made the PlayStation Vita completely worth the price of admission. So I was super happy when I heard that it was getting a PlayStation 4 remaster. Not just for myself, but for everyone else who'd be able to experience it for the first time too. Because let's face it, there are like 8 people out there that got a Vita, and 3 of us got it by accident when trying to file for tax income assistance. But most of you who've played this game probably know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that it's one of those games that does just about everything it possibly can to make you feel good. So here's a question for all of you that have played it. If you had to pick between the story, the characters, the music, the visuals, or the gameplay, what would you say is the best part of Gravity Rush? What about the worst? We're gonna rank each part of this game from the worst to the best, and then give our own overall score of the game at the end. This is how it's gonna happen. I'm gonna give my score at the end of the video.
Okay.
I'm not gonna know what other people have scored it.
It's a reaction video then?
All right, let's do this. In last place are the characters. If a big cast of deep and multi-dimensional characters is what's most important for you in a game, Gravity Rush might let you down. But that being said, I gotta say that I immediately fell in love with how genuine of a creation the main character Cat is. In fact, all the characters in this game feel like a natural byproduct of the world that they live in. And the fact that Cat's a girl feels more incidental than any kind of device to draw people in through fan service or whatever. She's funny and caring, strong, and confident in herself and what she thinks is right. One pretty big strike against her though is that she falls prey to what I think is the laziest character arc trope in the history of all fiction, amnesia. And this game doesn't really do anything to change my mind about that either. In fact, I think her character would have been a lot more interesting if she remembered her past while going through all the same stuff that she does in this game. Everyone else is okay, I guess, but they're pretty much all one-dimensional and we don't really get to know them. They're mostly just around to establish the different pieces and parts of the setting and mythos, which works fine enough, I guess. As for the villains though, I actually really enjoy that they were given the bad guy of the week kind of treatment, without much development or fleshed out motives. It gives off a sort of random issues of a comic book clumped together feel. I don't know, it was just kind of comfortable. But honestly, outside of Cat, just about every other character falls at least a little bit flat. Last place for their characters feels right. In fourth place is the story. So if what you're looking for in a game story is a swelling of tension with huge payoffs and releases of emotion, Gravity Rush won't quite give that to you. But what it will do for you is let you enjoy your time watching small moments, details, and legends conveniently unfold as you spend your time in the game. Like I was saying earlier, it feels like a couple of issues of Spider-Man just smooshed together to take you through a few days in the life of Cat and her friends trying to make their city a better place. The stories told in Gravity Rush are still self-contained enough, and almost everything does come to a satisfying conclusion. But it sets up so much mystery and establishes so much lore that the world really takes on an entire unique life of its own, in ways that a lot more ambitiously narrative-driven games fail to do. And it really establishes the fact that there's a lot more going on in this world than the game is gonna show you. You don't need to bring your mental A game to get everything out of the story that it wants you to. You just have to enjoy it for the comfortable ride that it'll provide and let the magic and mystery work your way through your brain at whatever pace you end up deciding is appropriate. It is missing some of those small moments that help smooth a plot all the way out, but I had a great time just letting it do its thing without getting too bogged down or trying to be too self-important. Still, it doesn't really try to innovate like the rest of the game tries to do with the other parts of it, so putting the story in fourth place feels okay. Third place goes to the visuals. One thing that I absolutely love about Gravity Rush is how it pulls inspiration from all over the world for every single part of the game, and it's never more obvious in this game with just a quick glance at its visuals. It was designed around an Eastern European architectural style, and the director said that he wanted to emulate the Franco-Belgian bande dessinée comic style for its story presentation. So all of these crazy different influences coming together make the game feel like its own totally unique thing. One of my own personal little gaming habits is trying to find and appreciate those little throwaway areas that are tucked away that I like to imagine that no one else has really ever gone to or seen. And this game delivers that experience in spades. I love it. I constantly find myself flying back to the underbelly of the city, which feels just foreboding and untouched. You can probably see though that the color looks a little washed out for the game, like it's pretty monochromatic and blanketed in a brownish gray color scheme. I actually kind of expected one of those moments in the beginning of the game where the color pops into focus once you get all your powers or something. I learned to appreciate it, I guess, but a few more splashes of color or distinctive landmarks would have been nice, I think. I do love the sketchy, conceptual art visual effect of stuff that you see off in the distance, though. It slowly grows more detailed as you fly your way towards it, and I don't know, it just looks beautiful to me. One thing that I think would have really helped bring the setting a nice sense of order is having a mini-map you could have displayed on the screen as you make your way through it. It helped players learn the lay of the land, but I never really quite got a firm grasp on how everything was put together and laid out. The locations do seem to lack too much contrast in color and design, and the NPCs and enemies are all pretty much limited in design too. But it's pretty much always a pretty game to look at regardless of where you point the camera, and an absolute joy to explore everything that you can see. It feels right to put the visuals in third place. It was seriously so hard to pick what would go in second place between the visuals and the music, and I decided it went to the music just because it does less wrong, and not really because it does more right. The first thing I actually remember hearing about Gravity Rush was on a Vita forum where a bunch of people were having a collective online orgasm over how amazing the soundtrack to the game is. I think it may have been the first and probably the last time I'll ever see a thread multiple pages long of so many people agreeing so happily without anyone being accused of eating a dick. And in my estimation, if something can do that to a bunch of ornery Vita degenerates, it's worth checking out. And they had a point. Gravity Rush's soundtrack is ridiculous. Of course it's beautifully written, but there's this raw emotion and power in every note that's played. Like it was recorded right out of a sweaty blue-collar orchestral pit. It kind of reminds me of the music you'd hear in those old cartoons where a narrator would just talk over scenes of little forest animals traipsing through idyllic forest meadows or whatever. It just fits perfectly the ethereal and wistful nature of the game. And it plays a major role in making Gravity Rush so comfortable to be in. And another thing I have to mention here real quick too is this cool little language they invented for the game, which is this super weird, warped French-Japanese hybrid, and sounds kind of funny, but in a mystical way. The only thing that I can criticize the music for is that it pulls its punches a little too often. It doesn't take over the game as much as I think it should have. Still, I feel like second place does the music justice. And first place, of course, goes to the gameplay. I don't know how deliberate the devs were when crafting the way that this game works, but they absolutely nailed the experience of suddenly gaining and learning new superhuman abilities. It was a really clever move that they pull at the start of the game too, where Cat walked all slow and stiff on the ground, and the game only let you see through fixed camera angles. So once you got the power to manipulate gravity and fly wherever you want in an open world, it was like being released from a prison. Just like a toddler taking its first steps, I awkwardly started to fling myself around and started bashing into stuff and missing all my targets. And in a way that makes sense in the context of the underlying narrative of Cat slowly learning new abilities. I got better and better at controlling myself over, under, and through the city. Gravity Rush creates an environment that lets you feel like this fundamental force of the universe no longer has any power over you, and gravity is yours to play with. Anything is possible here. It's a living dream. Now go be free in it. It's exactly the kind of thing that I play video games to experience. The one area where I feel like the gameplay could have been tweaked and improved is the combat system, where it's mostly just repetitive and can kind of be frustrating when the game doesn't respond in all the ways that you think it should. But there are a lot of interesting skills and stuff to mess around with to shake things up a little here and there. I can totally see myself coming back to this game just to be able to fly around and explore the world, even though there isn't really a whole lot left for me to do in it. I wish there were, but outside a handful of kind of generic challenges and a very small amount of NPCs with any kind of dialogue, the city doesn't offer anything more to do than give you a chance to roam its streets and alleyways. But I just fell in love with being able to move freely through Gravity Rush's open world. It's just totally my kind of thing, and if it's yours too, I'm pretty sure you'd love this game just as much as I ended up loving it. It really is nice to experience finding a game that just isn't really like anything else I've played in just about every area of the game. And while a lot of the story or the characters aren't all as substantial or fleshed out as it sometimes feel like they should be, that feeling lends itself to the otherworldly and fleeting nature of Gravity Rush. It's like a dream where some of the details are hazy and glossed over and things connect a little too loosely or easily, but it all comes together as a satisfyingly lucid concoction. At that's actually a pretty good way of explaining this game. It's a beautiful, lucid dream. Yeah, it probably could have taken more advantage of all the great things it threw into place without paying super close attention to where they landed or how, but everything good about video games is somewhere in here to find.
Okay, don't show me. So with all that being said, I give this game a solid 7 out of 10. David, reveal the score. It's 8.3, 80, okay. So I'd have to say that the game is just a little bit overrated. But let's see, hold on, let's see what people have to say. So scroll down to the reviews. EGM, I don't know who that is. One of the best Vita games becomes one of Sony's best PlayStation 4 offerings. While its portable origins mean the game never truly pushes the console on a technical level, Bluepoint has refreshed and reworked the original Gravity Rush with the care deserved for its debut in high definition.
I feel like it's pretty big though.
A 90 is way too high for it, in my opinion, for this game. Let's scroll down to like some bad ones. Controls are bleep. Story is bleep. Literally, it's all garbage. Literally. Seems like the kind of guy that played this game for about 8 minutes before quitting and giving up, just like every other thing that he's ever taken part of in his life. Not even high school. It probably dropped right out of middle school. Playzine, that looks like a professional review. A remaster done right with significant graphical upgrades, running in buttersmooth 60 frames per second. If you missed the original Vita release, be sure to pick this up. I completely agree with that review, and I would score it a little bit higher than that, but, you know, at the end of the day, I share the same sentiments. I want to keep this idea around, though.
The ball?
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching. Let us know how you would rank the different parts of the game or the game overall. We'd like to know. Also, you can drop by our Twitch channel if you want to talk to us more about it or anything else. And feel free to leave some recommendations for other games you think we should review in the future too. See you next time.
I need a synonym book. What are those called? Thesaurus.